Hi, Joanne again here from Wounds to Scars, and I'm continuing the conversation on how to control, how to master negative feelings. And I've suggested that how we think impact how we feel. And so if we think negatively, we're going to feel not too great about ourselves, and that is going to impact the rest of, your day, your life. And you can find yourself stuck in a place of fear and of worry because negative feelings have taken over. So here goes. Yesterday I talked about, in our last video, I talked about focusing on what is true, and I'm going to still use Philippians 4 verse 8 as the guideline, where Paul says, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are just, and whatsoever things are honest, if there's any virtue or any praise, think on these things. And so that's what I'm going to continue with. And I said, I don't know you, so I don't know what is true about you in your context, but I do know what God says about you, and that is true. He says He loves you. He says you're the apple of His eyes, and that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, I know from working with people every day that sometimes that is meaningless. Even for good Christians who are serving in ministry, who are working very hard for the Lord, struggle to believe the Word of God. Now, that might seem incredible to you if that's not you, but I'll tell you that there are many people, because of brokenness, because of pain, struggle to accept what God says. They will accept what He says about you, but they will struggle to accept what He says about them. But I want to tell you that the Word of God is personal, because God is a personal God. And I'm going to really encourage you to take Him at His word and watch it change your life. Okay? Now, I think, therefore I am. Have you ever been there? Or do you know anybody there? I think I am this, therefore I am it. I think I can't do it, therefore I can't do it. I think this thing is too big. I think my life is constantly a failure, therefore I am a failure. Therefore I don't have to try. Because why should I try? If I try, I'm going to fail. I am a failure. Everything that I've ever tried has failed, so I'm going to fail. Somebody said to me recently, you've been working so hard at this, Joanna, do you think you should give up? And I'm like, no. Because what if just as I give up, that's when I was going to be, my breakthrough was going to happen. So, this hound a lot of people. I think I'm going to fail. I think I'm going to fail. Therefore, I'm not going to try because I'm going to fail. The thing about that is, they will not verbally say, I am going to fail, and therefore I'm not going to try, but all their actions will demonstrate it. So say you're struggling to help someone find a job, or if you're struggling to find a job and you're bogged down with feelings of despair, with anger, with resentment, with irritation, your relationships are impacted, and people are saying, oh, have you heard about this job? Maybe you can apply for this, or maybe you could retrain and do that. Maybe you could do this or this or this. And you will politely answer, but you'll do nothing about it. Because silently, in the deep recesses of your heart, you think you're not going to get it, so there's no point in trying. Now, if we're going to think on what is true and what is honest, and if you're an honest person, and I believe that you are, if you're an honest person, is that honesty, and is that truth? It's not true and it's not honest because you don't know the future. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen when that application form lands on the desk of that employer. You don't know what reaction is going to happen. And okay, so maybe you've tried many times, but what if it's this time that it's going to work? My point is, you can't allow yourself to think you're going to fail, because if you do, you will fail. If you think you're never going to change, you will never change, because you will never motivate yourself enough to even believe what you're listening to in this video to make a difference, to begin to do what you need to do to move on. You'll never do it. So you have to think that you can. The power, we are won or lost in our minds, and it's an amazing organ, our brain, that God has given us. But He wants us to focus on what is true. And what is true is that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. That is what is true. And if we go to Him, because He loves us, He says we will have the petitions that we ask of Him. And I claim that one quite a lot. So you can't afford to think you're defeated. Because if you think you're defeated, you're going to act defeated. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to it could cause conflict in your home. It could cause you to not perform in work. And can you see the domino effect? So I want to encourage you to be honest with yourself. What is in the deep recesses of your heart? What is causing you to hang on to that those feelings of defeat? What is causing you to hang on to those feelings of fear? Even if you heard in the past that you're never going to amount to anything, you will never pass this course, you can never do it. Even if you heard those things are not true. You cannot afford to focus on the hateful words of people and make them become your truth. If you're struggling to find out what is your truth, as I said yesterday, focus on what God says about you. That is true. I've always been really grateful who God made me. I've always had this steely determination, and I know that He gave it to me. When I was going to high school, there was a maths teacher who just really took a dislike to me, and I think my group of friends. I think we were really a bit, troublesome. So maybe some of it might be justified. However, maths was never my thing. I was never able to grasp the concepts. And so she, to graduate from high school, she told us that you have to have a certain grade point average, and you have to pass a certain amount of subjects to graduate from the high school that I went to. Otherwise, you would not get an invitation to graduation. Now, this lady told me that I'd never graduate from high school. Now, that for me is like a red flag, because hello, who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do? So of course, I wasn't a lazy student, so it's not because I wasn't doing my work. So I just set out to prove her wrong. So on graduation day, I made a point of saying hello to her, and the group of us went to her and said hello. Now, and that was very satisfying. So what I'm saying is, if all through your life you've heard that you're not good enough, you're never going to do it, and so those feelings of defeat has kind of hold you captive, I want you to begin to kind of dismantle that lie and focus on the truth of who God says you are. And that will begin to impact the way you feel, and it will affect your relationships, and it will change your life. I guarantee you. Stay tuned for the next video, please, and I'll see you then, where you'll learn some more truths about how to manage negative feelings. See you then.